and introduce our three experts from industry. So ladies first, Ilham Saeed, founder and CEO of E2E. Ilham is an aerospace engineer and CEO of E2E, a fast-growing digital community created to allow other young engineers to help one another accelerate their knowledge through problem-based learning. She has received multiple awards throughout her studies, with the standout ones for me being Engineering Leader Scholar at the Royal Academy of Engineering and McKinsey's Women Achievement Awards 2020. Ilham, you're very welcome. Next, we have Ahmed Ablushi, co-founder at Aerospace Blockchain. Ahmed is a passionate and driven aerospace engineer set on a mission to be the effective bridge between IT and engineering to facilitate latest trends in technology with his empowering and innovative digital solutions to accelerate digital transformation in aerospace and industries. The company is ranked one of the top 10 advanced technology startups by the Dubai Chamber, and Aerospace is also a graduate of the Shira Incubator program. Ahmed, you are also very welcome this evening. Finally, we have Yad Mahendran, co-founder, CEO at The Concept. Yad founded his award-winning startup in his senior year of university and is today the chief executive who heads up the legal, finance and innovation at the company. Originally from Sri Lanka, but born and brought up in the UAE, he attended Jumeirah College and went on to graduate from the Emirates Aviation University, and has been a regular attendee at these events. So yeah, you're also very welcome. Excuse me. To all three participants, thank you for giving your time and your willingness to share your expertise with our attendees tonight. I'm sure they will find your thoughts this evening interesting and inspiring. Rishika, you have control.
Thank you so much, Martin. Again, I would like to welcome our panelists once again, Ilham, Ahmed, and Yad. It's wonderful to have you here. And without wasting any further time, I'm actually going to go straight into the questions from the start, literally from the start. I'd like to know how it all began for each one of you. You know, for each one of your business, how was the idea planted in your head, or what was the inspiration like, and how did you manage to implement it through? And in no specific order, Yad, would you like to go first and answer
that? Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot for having us. Thank you, Captain Martin, for the great introduction. So yeah, I mean, look, we started our company in our senior year of university, and it started off with an incubator called Inflight that's backed by Emirates Airlines, Danata, Dubai Tourism, and a few amazing companies. And it was senior year of university. We had nothing to lose, and we thought rather than going out and getting a job, you know, if we put our heads together, got a good team together, potentially win the competition, and then start our company off. And for us, and when I speak about us, it's myself, my two other co-founders. Sustainability was something that was at the core of us as individuals. And so we wanted to look at how we can impact the aviation industry in a sustainable manner. But of course, for us, we couldn't look at engines. We couldn't look at, you know, making aircraft aerodynamic, because that takes a lot of money and a lot of resources, right? So we thought, let's look at a small problem that could potentially have a big impact. And so we looked at the humble in-flight food trays that are served on board the aircraft. And yeah, we revolutionized that, got our traction. And yeah, that's basically how we started. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Yad. Ahmed, correct me if I'm wrong, but the blockchain technology, was it started back in 2008? Was it then you decided, oh, this is a technology you want to pick up and do something with? How was your inspiration like?
Yeah, sure, that is true. Thank you so much again for having us here. So it's not because of that. So basically, it's the same story like Yadu with me. Sorry. So when I graduated, and it was my first day at Emirates Engineering, and when I walked down the Emirates Engineering, I saw that it's 2017 and we still have handwritten documents everywhere. And just a little bit more of research and having sit down with all the top senior executives, I understood that Emirates Airline prints somewhere between 50 to 80 million papers every calendar year. That's just to manage the documentation. So what really sparked the idea of using blockchain was, at the same time I was part of the various incubators in the region, and at the same time there were two strategies that was put forward by Dubai government. One of them was the Dubai and the UAE blockchain strategy, and the second one was the paperless strategy. Now, me looking into that to look how I can really use this strategy in aviation, because I come from that background and I'm really passionate. It took me over a period of 2 to 3 years. That's why it's been very challenging and slow, because we had to sit down. And now the reason that it took so long is because there was a big question. Why is aviation sector still using handwritten documents? And why is it that industries always lag when it comes to digital transformation? And that came from one of my meetings with the chief data scientist from IBM, having a sit down and understood that the reason why we always fail is because the coders are always coding and the salespeople are always selling. So there is no bridge between the IT and engineering. And that's where I came in. So yeah, that's just a small brief of how we started.
That's interesting. Thanks, Ahmed. Ilham, what about you? How is it? How did E2E come to life?
So, yeah, thank you for having all three of us here. E2E came to life because it was a solution to my own problem. So it was kind of me finding out an issue that I was having, being an engineer, wanting to solve my own problem, only to find out that a lot of students were having this issue, which is the lack of peer-to-peer learning taking place within university. And I guess I was coming into university, this was around my second year, I was quite a shy student. So I didn't have the confidence as other students who would raise their hand in lectures, or who would go to the office hours for, I guess, after the lecture. So I thought of different ways of, I guess, getting quick, rapid solutions and problem-based learning. So as any student would, I guess everyone who has been a student would have gone through, I guess, having a little study group online, when you'd make a group with your friends, whether that's through WhatsApp or Facebook, and then you'd kind of support each other there. And I found out that's how a lot of students actually got through university. So what got me thinking was, why hasn't this formally been introduced within universities? So rather than students having to use social platforms to fill this void in their learning, why can't we introduce this formally within higher education institutes? And that's how E2E was born, which is a smart communication platform aimed to connect students, industry, and universities in one place to solve problems. As simple as that.
And did you reach out to these universities with your platform? Because I think it's not just limited locally. It's now you have a global connection of students from different universities, I understand.
So right now we are testing, I guess, the MVP, startup lingo for minimal viable product. So we're currently only open to 5 universities in the UK, but the plan is to expand to universities within here in the United Arab Emirates, as well as in other regions, to kind of test this whole ecosystem of universities talking to each other.
Okay, that's a leap from being a shy girl to actually going around and speaking to different universities, and I would say, starting to network, really.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Speaking of networking, I'm sure for us, especially like at the age of 20s, and especially when you're starting off with a business, it takes a lot for us to go out there, speak to people, and get them to listen to your ideas. And I think networking plays a big part in that, I assume. So would you like to share any story that you've had with respect to how important networking has been for you guys in terms of starting your business? Ahmed, would you like to share anything with us on this?
Yeah, sure. I really believe that it is one of the most important things, networking. Like, they say you're either working or networking. So how did that play an important role is because, what I believe as a startup, it was a hard lesson for me initially to understand this, but you always need to have 3 people from the industry, any industry that you're really trying to tackle or you disrupt, is you need someone from the business side, the very senior level that should buy in what you're doing. There should be someone from the technology, and there has to be someone with an influence. And to find these three right people, you have to meet a lot of people. Like in my journey over the last 3 years, I had met probably over 500 people in aviation to actually have those three people that I can really bet on to move forward and guide me and mentor me. So yeah, that's very key as a startup.
And what made you go with, because right after we finish graduation, the first thing that we all start thinking is, okay, let's go out and look for jobs, right? That's one of the first things we all are nervous about. So
True.
how did you decide, okay, I don't want to do a job, I want to go and start up my own business, and which can be really risky. So how did it all come together for you guys? Yeah, do you have a story to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, look, for us, we didn't really think that far out, right? Because we were in Interlock, it was senior year of university, it was our last semester, we won, we got 50,000 dirhams, and we said, you know what, that's kind of good enough for us. And Interlock through Emirates was kind enough to pay for our first year of office. So we were like, you know what, let's just take this money and then see as far as we can go, right? And we were in that very honeymoon phase of starting a company. So it's like, you know, we're gonna run, we're gonna chase, we're gonna go. But look, for us, it was also a no-brainer because of our team, right? We were kids. I headed business, Maria headed design, and Rijal heads engineering. But the three of us being friends before, we were able to bring a bit of that synergy together. And yeah, we just graduated, took that 50 grand, and in less than 3 months, we raised our first round of investment. So look, it's a bit of luck. It's a bit of also when we started, and of course Ahmed can back me on this. The word startup was very new in the region as well. Like the startup sphere was just starting to build in 2017-ish. So yeah, we didn't really see it as a risk. We were like, listen, if it fails, whatever. It'll be 3-4 months of runway, and then after that we'll go get a job. So yeah, that was the kind of the ideology that we had in our head when we kind of just said no jobs and let's just pursue this.
Okay, that's interesting. So you mentioned that this was via the incubator programs through Interlock. So how would you advise the aspiring entrepreneurs that I'm sure we have in the audience out here to how would they navigate it through a program as such? And I believe Hub 71 as well. Yes. So how would this all pan out for someone who's interested to participate?
Of course, and look, incubators are amazing, right? First and foremost, guys, a lot of them give you grants, which is basically free money, and that helps you to basically build your product, run your MVP, do your tests without giving any equity up. They also educate you a lot, right? So when Ahmed mentioned, his answer for networking, you get a lot of that networking within these incubators, right? So I've been part of Shara, we've been part of Interlock, and now we're a Hub 71 startup. So I think it's extremely important, especially look and Iham, I'm sorry, I'm singling you out on this. I'm just on what me and Ahmed have been through, right? But for the two of us, we had an idea and we went to a specific incubator that was Interlock that had to do with aviation, and so it allowed us to test it there as well, right? So it allowed us to get feedback from experts from the industry, like Ahmed said, on whether the idea works, whether the idea doesn't work. And the great thing about incubators is you don't have to have the most sophisticated idea, the most sophisticated business plan, right? They're just looking at the very, very, very beginning, and then they basically walk you through that entire process, building a business plan, networking, investments. So I think it's extremely important. And being part of an incubator also means that you're part of a society, right? That you can also talk to other startups. Me and Ahmed have spent a lot of time speaking to each other about how we can collaborate or problems that we face in the industry and what can be done about it, right? So definitely, I would say incubators are very vital, especially at the beginning of a startup, but also once a startup has revenue and then they want to scale and they want to kind of, take it to the next level. And that's where, you have players like Shara, which is backed by the Sharjah government, who, help you to scale, and the likes of Hub 71, who of course help you scale. So yeah.
And how does one get into a program as such?
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's an application process.
Okay.
A lot of it involves Googling, right?
Okay.
And finding
That's
out
true.
what are the incubators that are out there in the region. You know, like Ahmed said, network. When you network and you talk about your startup, people as well will start to understand, hey, you know what, maybe you should apply here, you should apply there. But it's not only an application process. Most of the application processes are very straightforward. It literally asks you, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you trying to solve and how are you solving it? And that's basically the key, right? They also focus on your team. So having a team is very important. I'll be very honest with you, in Inflight, we were told multiple times that your idea is good. It might work, it might not work, but one of the main reasons that we got you guys in, and one of the reasons you guys won, is because you have a good team, because you have design, you guys have production, you have business in relevance to your product. So yeah, to apply for these things, guys, Google it. Just Google, like, if you guys in aviation incubators in the UAE, or global aviation incubators, apply. And yeah, the questions are pretty straightforward.
I'm sure anyone who's interested would definitely check it out, especially after your stories. Ilham, from your perspective and from your experience, what did it take with respect to funding and initial investments, everything, which is of course a risky bet for every startup. So how would you advise the audience? How can they go about it if it's not through an incubator program, that is?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because we didn't go through an incubator. We've been bootstrapping for the past year. So we've kind of been we've been funding E2E through grants and through universities and through multiple, I guess, competitions. So that's the strategy we decided to take, because we wanted to be sure to focus a lot on the problem solution fit. And then when it comes to, I guess, building a community anyway, it's quite a lengthy process. So searching for seed funding at that given time wasn't right for us. But now that we've kind of validated that problem solution fit, we're ready to build kind of the product market fit. This is where we're going into the whole like investment. But yeah, there are multiple competitions available out there, regardless of what sector you're working in, whether that's in health tech, ed tech, AI, big data analytics seems to be like a big thing. So there are lots of competitions available out there. And what's really good about them is it's a win-win, in my opinion. It's a win because you, again, going back to the network question, you make really great connections. So even though you might not benefit from that specific competition, the connections you make will be able to get you to the right person in the right meeting at the right time. And that's what will really, I guess, propel the success of a startup. And the saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, doesn't apply more than in the startup world, because all it really takes is the right timing, opportunity, and the right person who's willing to hear and to give you that yes to, I guess, move it from just an idea to an actual business.
That's wonderful. Yes. This was, how long has it been since E2E has taken its form up or reached the stage it is at right now?
So we launched in October 2019, so just over a year and a half now.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's very good progress. Correct me if I'm wrong, E2E, besides being available for just students, I understand you are also having a grad-focused program. So there are graduates who can contribute and participate and benefit from E2E platform as well. Would you like to expand on that a bit?
Yes, so the idea is, what we notice is we'd have this, I guess, cohort of students coming in and joining. And then by the time they graduate and finish, they, I guess, there's a fallout in the number of activity. So we noticed that actually, what is of value to the community is the graduates that go into work for companies like Rolls-Royce, like Airbus. And students don't want to hear from the people within those companies that have been working for a really long time about the experience there. They want to have raw, authentic, unfiltered sort of opinions and experiences from people who have just graduated, who have gone on to join their graduate programs. Because you get some people saying, so I went through, for example, Rolls-Royce's graduate program, completed it in 2 years, but it's not for me, and this is why. And I think it's that kind of transparency that is really going to be supporting students find the right job and not just a job that passes the hours, but a job that you're actually passionate about. And that's what we're trying to facilitate with E2E, is to bring those graduates back rather than them being disconnected from after graduating, and to, I guess, mentor current undergraduate students.
Okay, yeah, I think that's really helpful, because even after graduation, sometimes we can be really lost with where do we want to go henceforth. So that's a really nice idea. I have also received some questions from the audience directly, and they have submitted their questions beforehand, and I would like to make sure I include them during a discussion today as well. And one of the questions is, how do you balance and manage your time in such a major and leading industry, such as aviation industry? So, Ahmed, how would you like to answer that question?
Well, really, to be honest, you really can't manage. For me personally, how it's been is you always has to be on ground. You need to be on ground all the time, because at certain times, like Ilham and Yad said, you have to be at the right place at the right time. So networking has always been key for me. Like, for example, it was accidentally that happened. We had a meeting with the Minister of Science in Dubai, and we landed a project with the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. And that would have never happened if we're not all around the place. So that's my advice for a startup. You have to be all around the place. You need to, I don't know how to say that. We really need to bug these people all the time, because you as a startup, they don't take you seriously early, like in the first year, until you build some credibility on. So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, do you have something to contribute? Because I saw you nodding along with Ahmed's answer.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, look, I absolutely second with him. I think managing time is I mean, it's your baby, right? And I think the three of us can agree to this. I mean, you live, you eat, you breathe it, right? But I also know that at some point, like, and I know there are a lot of companies doing this as well, your mental health is important as well. So I think when it comes to managing time, there has to be a bit of switching off as well. I've gone through my personal burns where, you go 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row where you're not taking a single day off. It almost becomes like an addiction, where you need to work and then you suddenly burn. But when you burn, that takes a toll on the company, right? Because you're a key person, and then other people are suddenly like, why are they burned? So yeah, I think, like Ahmed said, it's extremely important to be at the right place at the right time and to put 100%. But I think equally it's important to take care of your mental health, and kind of, over time, each person kind of figures that out, but kind of just taking your own time out of the company, because that again facilitates really good ideas and looking at your products or your company from an outside perspective as well.
Speaking of your company, yeah, specifically with respect to the change of in-flight dining experience, and linking it to the question of managing time and everything, I just wanted to know, because it's difficult to make a change in the aviation industry. There is resistance. It takes a lot to make one change on a global scale. So what's your plan in that particular area? Do you expect this to go global? And if so, how do you plan to tackle the issue of, the time that it takes to change?
I mean, great question, right? Captain Martin once said, the industry moves like an elephant, very, very, very slow. But when it moves, it tramples, right? And it leaves a huge foot space and space. But look, for us, especially in what we're doing, we're manufacturing trays, right? It's a very weird startup that a lot of people look and say, you guys manufacturing trays, and there've only been 3 or 4 companies that have been doing this for the last 20 or 30 years. But for us, we've already seen a global impact, because there've only been 3 or 4 guys that have been doing this. And for us suddenly to go into this business and say, hey guys, listen, we're going to manufacture your trays from trash. The trash that you guys have after a flight, rather than you guys would normally pay to throw that trash, how about I tell you, I'll come and buy your trash from you, and then I'll manufacture those back into trays, right? Just a month ago, we signed a partnership with Etihad Airways, and we have a few more partnerships in the pipeline, where now we're developing our tech, right? So it's the same tray made out of trash, but we're embedding it with sensors so that we can collect data on Rishika. What did Rishika consume when she flew from Abu Dhabi to Auckland, right? And again, it's creating incentives to an airline where they're paying less and getting more. So again, the way that we charge our airlines as well is very different. Traditionally, the way that airlines purchase trays is, they pay up front and then they get their stock for a year. The way that we're revolutionizing things is we're telling them, listen, we're going to give you everything for free, and then we're only going to make the money on data. And the data is going to be subscription, so you only get charged 90 days after using it. So a big part of it is the way that the product is built, but also the way that the business model is done. And yeah, definitely, like for us, we want to hit global. We are on that level today where we're working with airlines all across the world. We have our distribution partners in play. So yeah, we're a tray company, but we're doing it a tad bit different.
Interesting. You just mentioned, you just gave an example of what Rishika consumes, so I'm going to go with it. I would love to know if you have any, if you anticipate going or taking this idea to any other industry besides aviation, because when I was reading about the concept and your idea about in-flight dining experience, I would like to think, oh, this could actually track my nutrition as well. And I was thinking, okay, maybe that's a good area of business where this could expand. Do you have any such plans of expanding in these areas?
Yeah, I mean, look, great question, right? First and foremost, even to an airline today, when we provide them with what did Rishika consume or not, there's also a flip side where we give Rishika the opportunity to tap her phone on the tray to understand what she's consuming and what's the calories behind it. But look, today we've already been approached by leading hospitals in the UAE, schools, surprisingly schools, where they want to take the exact same tray, even food courts at malls, where they want to take the exact same tray, not only the sustainable factor that it's made sustainably, but that they can get data that can help them reduce waste, but also make more money. So definitely the goal for us is starting in the industry, in the aviation industry, but then scale into different verticals.
Right. And this whole data system, I understand there is something called Internet of Things, and that's how you relate that information. That's how you collect the data. Would you like to explain that a little bit just for us, just so we get a better idea of how this works?
Sure. So IoT, or Internet of Things, are our best friend in our company, probably something that we've only brought in over the last year and a half. So basically what it is it's taking a physical product and then embedding it with either sensors or software so that this physical product can either communicate with another product or it can relay information. In our circumstance, what we're doing is we're taking the tray, we're embedding it with an NFC sensor that's weight calibrated. So basically what we'll be able to do is on a cabin trolley that cabin crew use to serve food, we'll have an IoT receiver that's basically communicating with the tray. So the minute the tray leaves the cabin trolley, the tray would tell the IoT receiver, hey, I left. And when I left as a chicken meal and I had 250 grams on my tray. And then when the tray is done and the cabin crew take it back and put it back in the cabin trolley, the tray will then tell the trolley, hey, I'm back in your trolley, by the way, and Rishika consumed 180 grams, so I've basically got 70 grams left, right? So it's all about embedding hardware products. And whilst the perception that most people think is, does Internet of Things need internet? Not in every situation. And in our situation, for example, we don't, because we can use offline systems for it. So that's a bit of what IoT is and how we're using it for our products.
Interesting. That's really interesting. That's nice to know. Speaking about IoT and other such technologies, Ahmed, for our audience, just so that we get a little more into the whole blockchain technology and system, would you like to just explain us briefly about the blockchain technology and any security issues, if it has any, that you would like to expand on? Because I'm sure we do have a lot of non-digital people out here. I myself am like not totally digital. I wouldn't like to go totally digital anytime. So how would you convince people like, say, me?
Yeah, like you said, it's very hard to just explain the whole blockchain in a few minutes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
basically, one of the reasons that we're going forward with blockchain is, if you remember a few years ago, blockchain was a buzzword, and that was Bitcoin. And as we all can see, where is Bitcoin today? And it shows that how secure it is. But there are two types of blockchain. Now, there's something that is public that you have, like Bitcoin, and there's something as a private blockchain that can be in the organization itself, and it's not connected to the internet. And that's the type of blockchain that we're going forward, because aviation cannot be connected directly to the internet, especially when it comes to the operations of the airline and the engineering itself. And the second reason, like Yadu, we're also using IoT. That's, of course, down the line. That is simply because over the last couple of years, we were able to go digital in aviation, but we couldn't be smart. And that's one of the reasons why big industry giants like Boeing, Airbus, and when it comes to IBM, they have always failed to do something like this, is because they always tried to go digital but not smart. And for that reason, what we are doing different now with the blockchain is because it gives you the right security, it gives you the permission accessibility, so that, for example, if I have a current system in place, maybe Yadu, for example, has access to certain documents that I don't, or you don't. That is something that we cannot do with the current infrastructure that we have in Emirates Engineering and other major airlines in the world.
So how is the cost factor in this particular scenario? How expensive is it? Is it very costly? And if so, how do you convince the maintenance provider to take this up?
Okay, so that's again based on our case study. I'm very sure the cost of building this system would not be as much as it's costing them right now with paper-based. For example, if I'm not wrong, this was based on our case study, and it's validated by the stakeholders in the airline that Emirates Group and other major airlines around the world spend around 25 million to 30 million dirhams every year. That is just to buy cartridge, paper, and printers. So building a system would not be anywhere close to that cost, especially for one airline. And again, it's going to be long term, because that cost is, that you pay that 30 million every year.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I was assuming it would be the other way around, but that's good to know. Ilham, since we are in the Young Business Leaders in Aviation panel and about E2E, because it's mainly focused on young students, I wanted to know how are the members in your business like? Do you have a lot of senior members in your company? And if so, how does the dynamic play out between the younger individuals and the senior management team, perhaps? Or is it a business model where you have mainly young persons working in the company?
Yeah, so we're a platform that is designed by students for students. And that means that a lot of my co-founder, he's also an aerospace engineering student. I've got my digital marketing guy, who's also a student, and developers, also students as well. And it was really important for me to do that, because the whole aim of the platform is to upskill work-ready, graduates or students in any shape or form. And that is why I'm trying to, give students any experience that they can have, and at the same time, them to be part of a bigger thing. And when you all have common goals, you're all thinking, with bright, innovative ideas, and in the same place, that's when a really strong community can be built. We do have advisors and mentors. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about edtech and machine learning and etc. But it was really important for us to be driven by these advisors and mentors, so they can teach us lessons learned, bounce around our ideas, because sometimes I'm sure as you both can agree, as CEOs, you can get ahead of yourselves and be you're known as this visionary. But then my advisors would say, no, Ilham, stop and just think for a second. What do you want to do tomorrow, not in 10 years' time? And what we're trying to do is to complete what we want to do in 10 years' time in a few months. So it was really important for me to, have these professional advisors in education, in recruitment, in technology, to be able to provide me the guidance, not necessarily the control, but more like guidance, so then I can understand which, advice to take and which advice not to take. So yeah, I definitely encourage being part of a young startup group. If you have the opportunity to work for a startup, it's even better. And then you then understand that it's whether it is or isn't for you. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to get a 9-to-5 job. If you're looking for something easy, you can do that. But starting a business is hard. It's not easy, but I guess entrepreneurs don't start businesses because it's easy. They start it because it's exciting, it's challenging. And if that sounds like you, then go for it.
That's inspiring. So correct me if I'm wrong in your, the way this E2E platform works is by having ambassadors from different universities. That's your goal, right? To have multiple ambassadors from across different universities, and that's how you build the network in due course.
Yeah, so that's our plan, to build the network from the bottom up, but we also plan to look at it from top down, where we onboard lecturers, and because there are super users and unit directors, since they're the educators, and then so we have 2 ways of onboarding and building the community. We're currently at 1,000 engineering students from 2 universities. And we are planning to, I guess, expand 2 more, since we've only soft launched at 5, but officially launched at 2. So that's the plan.
Is the platform open for the students to sign up and start using it? It is. And if so, would you like to let us know how to go about it?
Yes, so currently we're actually working on our platform upgrade, which is set to launch in September. So that's when the official upgrade will be, where everyone can sign up. But for right now, we've restricted it because a lot of the things are done manually, and it can be with lack of resources with any startup. Yeah. So if you just go to, I'll actually type it in the chat, it's easier. But yeah, I'll type the link to the website, where you can have access to, I guess, the main pages where you get to know a bit more about E2E. But yeah, full access will be given for signups in September.
Okay, wonderful. I think we've been receiving a few questions from the audience as well. So I'm going to try and not hog all the time and take some questions from them as well. Let me just...
Rishika, can you access the chat, or do you want me to read the questions for you?
I am trying to access, but in the meantime, would you like to go ahead and read out the questions if you have collated them, Lalitya?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Rishika. One question we have, I think it's for any panelist here. How would you know if an idea you have would be worth pursuing if you have other commitments, like a full-time job? Maybe, Yad, you can go for it?
Yeah, I think we've kind of all answered that. And a big part of that comes to networking, right? And talking to people, right? There's a famous book called Mom's Test. Just don't ask your mom about it, because your mom's going to love all of your ideas. But be part of networking events like RAeS, right, where you have access to us, like panels. Reach out to us, ask us, hey, can we talk to you about our idea for half an hour? Can we talk to you about our idea? Go for networking events. I know because of COVID that's been a bit restrictive. It's not like you can go to a conference every other day, but find people. Like what Ahmed said earlier as well, find an expert in the industry that you're looking to enter, right? Because they will most likely know the industry and will most likely give you the best advice. And then, of course, do your homework. I think a big part of starting a startup is doing your homework, because we all have great ideas. I've had some great ideas for the concept. I've worked on it for 2 or 3 weeks and then sat down with my chief creation officer, Maria, and Maria's just been like, yeah, that's been out in the market for years. So I think do your homework, do a bit of Googling to know if your idea is out there or not. But then as part of your network, reach out to people, especially industry experts, and ask them what they think about it. And that should give you a good feel for, should you leave a full-time job or commitment and take it forward? But also make sure that you have a bit of a cushion. For me and Ahmed, again, when we started, Iham, I think as well, when you started, you know, we still had the cushion of our parents a bit that we could leap off before we started. But if you're someone that's been in the corporate world for like 10, 15 years before, of course, you start and leave a full-time job, make sure that you have a financial cushion, a runway for yourself for at least 6 to 8 months before you can actually start it. So that would be my advice.
To add on to that, because I started E2E when I was a full-time student. So I've already been doing, I guess, but then when I was in meetings and with like clients, etc., I was telling them I was a part-time student because they'll be like, "You're a full-time student, what are you doing having a meetings?" So I started off that way. When I graduated, I was working full-time on E2E for a few months, and then I made, I guess, the decision to apply for jobs. Because especially in edtech, it's a lengthy process. It takes at least a few years for you to, I guess, get off the ground. So I decided to apply for a job using my degree. So I've been working for full-time day job, 9 to 5 as an aerodynamicist. And then after that, I'd work on E2E. First of all, I think doing engineering at university teaches you a lot of time management. So then that's already, I guess, something you can add to your CV. If you want good time management, just do an engineering degree and you'll get that whether you like it or not. Another thing is, well, I'm like a very, I guess, dynamic person. I don't like doing the same thing every day. And what I realized was when you separate your time doing different things and they all can complement each other and be transferable. So for example, the skills that I'm learning at my 9 to 5 job, I'm kind of applying as a CEO of my own company. And it was really important for me to understand, rather than just, I guess, giving orders and giving tasks and giving, like, I guess, assigning roles, it was really important for me to understand from an employee's perspective, from the receiving end of, I guess, giving tasks. In that way, I'm able to properly manage, I guess, expectations. If something doesn't go right, what could go wrong, and etc. So it was really, I guess, it gave me transparency from both sides as a CEO and as an employee at the same time, which allows me to be, I guess, drive my company better.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ilham and Yad. Rishika, are you able to take over, or do you want me to carry on with the next question?
Yeah, I can now see the questions,
Okay.
the chat box. So we've got one question over here for you, Yad. How do you make cash flow work on the basis you just described? I assume you were talking about the time management at the time. So,
Yeah, you're on mute. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I think, and I'm just looking at Anderson's question, how do you make cash flow work on the basis you just described? I think in relevance to cash flow, I assume you're talking about how we're charging customers differently in comparison to the tender cycle that's done today. Look, for us, it's about our investors that we have. Just in the last 6 months, we've brought in 2 of the largest investing parties in the UAE. And it's about that trust on what we're building, bringing them as well as new investors to help us get a line of credit. Because everything that we do is we do it via a line of credit and to manufacture the products. And then we make our money after that. But us doing it that way means that we're almost making 3 or 4x the amount of money than the existing tender process. And also because we're doing it as, you know, we're not selling a tray anymore, we're selling tech that happens to be in a tray. So because we're doing it that way as well, we're just charging them for the tech. So a big part of it is, and the delayed payment option for clients is Carol. Sorry, Carol. Yes. So I mean, I hope I answer your question. It's a line of credit that we take from our investing parties, and of course, when we charge airlines, we charge them. It's almost peanuts, right? So we charge them 6 cents per tray per flight route. So for a full flight, an airline at max would pay 18 to 24 US dollars, and that's a cost that they will recoup from the passenger and then pay us. It's not a cost that they've got to pay upfront even before the passenger flies out. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Carol.
Thanks, Yad. We have a question from Zainab, and she's asking, what was your main obstacle in creating your business? Ahmed, would you like to answer this one?
So for me, a main obstacle, like you said, it's aviation sector, and there's always a lot of resistance. And that's been one of the biggest challenge for us as a startup, is to really tackle. And, you know, as I said before, and like Yadu said, you need to do your homework, because a lot of times you meet a lot of people that are pessimists. Regardless of the idea, actually, you know, that you can take forward, it's a very good idea, but they will always have so much resistance trying to push you away. And you can't just blame them at a certain point, because it's been like this for the last 100 years. And so, yeah, that's been one of the biggest challenge for us. So really to tackle that, you need to be there every time, meet different stakeholders, to the point that you have certain people from the decision makers that are on board with your idea. So yeah, as a startup, I think in aviation, especially because that's where I come from, no matter what idea you go for, because we had idea with the airport, with the aviation, with the operations, no matter where in the sector, you're always going to have a lot of resistance.
Okay. Thank you, Ahmed.
Sorry, to add on to that question, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
To add on to that, Ahmed's answer, I think if there's competition for, I guess, your idea, that's a good sign, because that means there's a market. It's when there's no competition that you need to either decide whether you've got the first mover's advantage, which is very rare, where no one's ever done what you're doing, or nobody's interested enough for anyone to even try. So I think having competition is a good sign, and it makes, I guess, the startup journey a lot more exciting.
Ilham, speaking of competition itself, because Zainab has asked the question about this, how do you distinct yourself from other competitions out there? So would you like to continue on this? You said it's good to have competition out there. So how would you distinct yourselves from the rest?
I think it's really understanding the gaps. There are lots of, I guess, ideas out there. There are lots of successful businesses. And what you should be doing is doing a lot of like market research into what are they missing, what are customers not happy about. Because with every good idea, you've got those few little comments saying, this is good, but, or this works great, but. So there's always a but, and that's what happens in the but is what you should be thinking about. Like for example, I'll give an example at university. They said, so a lot of my lecturers would say, so we've got this learning management system called Blackboard. This is what the university uses to basically deliver learning information. So what the lecturers would say was, yeah, use this platform, but it's really slow, or it's really not user friendly, or it's really bad, but it's good enough. And that's when I kind of, I guess I had the aha moment where, why has that become the standard? So looking at an idea, understanding the gaps in the idea and where you can fill it. Not necessarily, I guess, you don't want to build the next, I guess, I don't know, Dyson vacuum cleaner. No, you want to see what is Dyson's vacuum cleaner not providing, and how can your product add value to the customers. So yeah, customer-driven products is always the way to go when it comes to beating competitors.
That's great. Thank you, Ilham. We have a question from Yu Zhang. Any advice, especially in the process of thinking of ideas? How do you come up with these industry-leading ideas, and what are your strategies for networking? Yeah, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, look, the idea probably has to be something personal. I mean, Iham said it beautifully. It was a problem that she faced, right? The problem that I face is I love eating food, right? Except every time I flew on board an aircraft, when I was eating my food, and watching a movie, I'm never watching my movie because I'm always watching my food because the food's always shaking in turbulence. So that was my problem, right? And so for me, I didn't even think about sustainability first. I just thought about, hey, you know what? This is a problem. I have a problem. Is there something we can do about it? We put our team together, and then we trickled on other problems. So I think when you're coming up with an idea, it's something personal to you. And me, Ahmed, and Iham, I mean, the three of us, everything, I mean, what we've started and what we've done is all from a personal problem that we had, right? But again, it's not just saying you have a personal problem and then going and doing it. Do a bit of researching, understand, is there a market for it? Is there a solution for it? Is there a product fit for it? Am I the right person to do it? We all come up with great ideas, but sometimes you're not the one to do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying get a team of people, right? Go get a Iham, go get a Ahmed, go get a Yad, put them together, and create a team. So that would be my idea. That would be my I'm losing my English. That would be my advice to how to come up with an idea or how to go about it at least. Oh, Rishika, you're on mute. Everyone's on mute.
Right. Sorry about that. There's another question for you, Yad, from Nawaz Mohammed. He's asking, how do you see sustainability affecting your profitability? So.
Yeah, good. I would say good. When we started our company, Maria, who's our chief design officer, was the one that said we need to go sustainable. I said no way, because sustainability means more expensive. But actually, what we ended up doing is finding out that you can actually go in a sustainable manner, but also make your business sustainable and make it easier for an airline, or less cash heavy for an airline, like the question that I answered, Carol. So sustainability is helping us a lot. It's helping us make a lot of money, to be very honest with you, because we're one of the first in the industries that have focused on sustainability, and also because we're relatively small, we get to create 100 products. Don't create 100 products, guys, but I'm just saying we get to create products pretty quick, that are sustainable. So look, it's affected our profitability in a good way.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have another question from Yu Zhang, and he's asking, any projects that you suggest aspiring students who want to work in the industry to work on to increase their CV attractiveness and employability? Hamad, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, sure, but I would, of course, be answering something related to aviation. I think one of the biggest concern right now that me personally I'm working on is how to reduce the CO2 emission from the aircraft. And that's really a big concern. So there's a lot of opportunity I see in the coming days for this very thing, so especially if students. And I would suggest them also to be part of the Dubai Air Show that is going to happen in November, because you'll get a lot of opportunity to network and at the same time also validate if you have some ideas, because you're going to have a lot of industry leaders around. It's not been there like this for the last 15 months at least, with the whole pandemic around. So yeah, that's something that I would advise people to work on, is to come up with an idea that is to reduce the CO2 emission.
Okay, that's interesting. We have a business idea out there, guys, in case if you want to grab it up. Ilham, would you like to contribute to this as well in terms of how can one interact their CV? How can they make themselves more employable?
Yes, so I was just actually trying to look for a link, because I know there's, run by the Royal Aeronautical Society, there's a light aircraft design competition. So when I was at university, what I would do is I would join a lot of competitions. So I was part of the Airbus innovation competition. I attended some summer courses run by the Austrian Space Agency as well as the European Space Agency. So there's lots of different challenges, hackathons, competitions, and etc. that are usually funded, which is a good part as well, is because you can go there, gain some really valuable skills, and either come out of it with a business idea, either come out of it with a lot of enhanced skill sets. So I'll paste a link for the Royal Aeronautical Society Design Challenge one, which I recommend any, I guess, aircraft enthusiasts to apply for. and go for it. Just find a team, find your course mates, just build that team to, I guess, take part in that competition. And if you just Google aviation challenges, there's so many ones that are run by a lot of companies that you're able to, I guess, participate in.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ilham, Ahmed, Yad, thank you. Thank you very much.